In today's video, I want to share with you the way I color grade drone footage, but also how you can make it more interesting by adding color contrast using LAB color space.
Hi, my name is Adrian, and on this channel I share all I know concerning shooting, editing and color grading. So tap subscribe and let's begin.
First, what you need to do before you start grading is to make sure your color space management is correctly set. There are several ways to do it in DaVinci Resolve. This is a whole complex topic. To make it short, here is my project settings color-wise, and in my node tree I use CST nodes, where I convert camera color space into DaVinci Wide Gamut. In this case it was DJI Mini 3 Pro. This is not lock, so my source is Rec 709 color space, and back from DaVinci Wide Gamut into Rec 709. Then what I usually start with is exposure, balance, contrast, saturation, in that order. So starting with the exposure, the image is quite bright, what you can see on the scopes. I like to open my scopes in separate window by clicking this icon. And being in quad view, I have the waveform, but not the colorized, so I have unchecked colorized control. Underneath I have my parade and two vector scopes. In one of them I have enabled 2x zoom. So back to the exposure, as you see the image is nicely lit, no peaking whatsoever. I will leave it there, so no changes in the exposure node this time. Next, balance. I'll make it slightly cold using offset wheel. Before and after. Then contrast. I will combine linear contrast with S-curve one, so I will increase gain and decrease offset to introduce some linear contrast. And I will also add some S-curve contrast using contrast control, like that. Sorry, I had my playback timeline proxy resolution set to quarter. Now it's full. Always color grade using the best resolution and quality, by the way. So before and after. Next, saturation. I will boost a bit HDR global saturation by 10%. And in the primaries, what I'd like to do is to increase color boost and at the same time decrease saturation. Because if I use only saturation control, I can quickly crash the most saturated areas, and the least ones are still not saturated enough. Whereas color boost equally adds saturation to the whole image. So if I combine those two methods, I get more linear distributed saturation across the whole image. Before and after. So that might be a good solid base for the next steps. It can also be a final version, if you want, because it's correctly graded and the image is pleasing to the eyes. But we will go farther with it. I have two parallel nodes here. By the way, to create serial node, tap Alt-S. To add parallel node, tap Alt-P. In the first one, I'd like to enhance the clouds. I want more contrast. So what I'm gonna do is, using the qualifier, I will select the sky. Let me enable highlight mode to see what was selected. And I will need the power window to narrow down the selection. The ellipse is fine. I will not track it because the sky is not moving almost at all. And in the primaries, I'm gonna increase contrast. Play with pivot also. So this is before and after. Let's add more saturation using color boost and saturation controls. So this is before and after. And this is what we've done so far, before and after. By the way, to enter full window mode, tap Shift F, and to exit, Shift F again. Now the fun part. Actually, I've learned that quite recently. In the second parallel node, called Lab, LAB, I will change color space to LAB. Right-click, color space, LAB. LAB is a non-RGB channel color space, which means that when using LAB color space, the controls will no longer behave the same as it is with RGB color spaces. Instead of red, we have L like luminance, green channel is now magenta versus green, and blue channel is warm versus cool. So now the A and B channels work in between red, green, and blue channels. Okay, let's see how it works. To try it, I will use RGB mixer, which is now LAB mixer in fact. Make sure you have preserve luminance unchecked, it works better that way. So we will not touch the red channel, which is luminance. We will focus on A and B channels, but separately. And bear in mind, those two values need always sum up to 1. So the final effect should be that we have more color contrast by grouping similar colors a bit closer together. I hope it will make more sense with the example. Let's take a look. First, the green channel, in that case the A channel. I will decrease green and compensate with blue. In the primaries, you can enhance this effect by using shadows, highlights, and saturation. So let me do that. Be careful with the saturation and observe the vector scope. So this is before and after. Much more warmer look with higher color contrast. Let me grab a still. And now let's check it out, the B channel. I will reset it. Let's do the same thing. I will add green and remove some blue. The total number is 1, so it's fine. I'm gonna do the same thing with shadows, highlights, and saturation, and compare the results. You can apply this technique also for the shots that are not so colorful, for instance winter shots. Okay, that's it from me for today. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and what is even more important for YouTube algorithm, leave a comment. I will appreciate it a lot. Thanks for watching, cheers, and see you in the next one.